go. Our names. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Check-In with Sara Orlesky.
Jaime Thomas with you on this Sunday morning.
I don't know how I feel about this. I really like afternoon games. 2 p.m. start today as we get you ready for the Winnipeg Jets and Pittsburgh Penguins, game 5 of the season for the Jets. But I don't know how I feel, to be honest, about 10:30.
Yeah, 10:30 is a little early for any of us. But regardless, it is a big day. It's Bryan Little's day here at Canada Life Center as we celebrate the career and everything that Bryan Little did for the Winnipeg Jets organization. Very excited to see him yesterday. So we have a sit-down interview with him, but we have someone to join us here right away because she's got to get on a bus.
She does. So as we mentioned, the Penguins in town. So typically we would set up the game a little bit, and then we would bring in someone from the opposing side to give us a little bit of context. But Haley Hunter from Sportsnet Pittsburgh, so kind to spend a couple minutes with us before she heads on over here to Canada Life Center. So Haley, good morning to you.
Thank you both for having me. Yes, it's great to connect with you, and a beautiful day in Winnipeg. I may add, the last time I was here, I saw nothing but white outside my window. So it's nice to have a beautiful fall day when the Penguins are in town.
Absolutely. You guys picked the perfect time in the schedule to be able to come here. Let's get you right into it now, since we know we only have a few minutes.
Yeah.
So with this Penguins team, 3-3 to start this season, one of those players, though, we have spoken about so many times over, I don't know,
So many.
The last couple decades, Evgeny Malkin and the job that he has done. What is it that's worked so well for him early on in this season?
Yeah, most definitely. Really proud of him. I mean, unfortunately, last season, it was disappointing for him. He just wasn't able to produce as much as he wanted to. But something actually that head coach Mike Sullivan and the rest of the staff has talked to him about is not trying to do too much. You know, as you get older in age, maybe not trying to stay back in the D zone as much and trying to stay up more in the O zone and wait for the puck, try to limit his shifts a little bit more. Things like that can help him really bring out that offensive talent that we've seen from him for so many years. And when he's able to kind of do that and not try to do maybe quite as much as he used to do, that's allowed him to really produce more. And so hopefully he can continue that. He's got 4 multi-point games so far. So we love what we're seeing from Gino so far.
Listen, we over the years, especially Winnipeg Jets fans, have seen Tristan Jarry absolutely stonewall them over and over again. He's off to a slower start. What's going on with the goaltending situation with the Penguins so far this year? I know it's early.
Yeah, great question. It's early. I mean, we have 3 active goaltenders right now. The rookie, the 22-year-old, and Joel Blomqvist has just been so great that the staff can't find it in them to send him down to the AHL team in Wilkes-Barre. So we have 3 goalies right now. We'll probably find out in a couple hours who's starting tonight. I would guess it's going to be Tristan Jarry. But, you know, you always want your number 1 goaltender to play well. So I can tell the coaching staff is obviously a little disappointed, a little bit concerned, but they're certainly still confident that he can turn it around.
All right, give us something. We've got a bunch of Jets fans watching right now, whether they're coming to the game and watch on TV. Give them something that they need to be aware of, that they should watch for with this Penguins group.
Yeah, I would keep an eye out for our third line guy in Jesse Puljujärvi, 4th overall, 2016 to Edmonton, as you guys know, kind of known as the guy that never really lived up to expectations, which is why coming off of double hip surgery 2 summers ago, it's been really cool to see him just look so much more confident out there on the ice. You can see it in the locker room, in the hallway as he's heading out to the ice as well. Just a lot more comfortable on the Penguins team this season. So looking forward to seeing if he can keep that going. He's got points in 4 of his first 5 games. We're really kind of seeing a new hockey player out of him.
Haley, we are going to let you go get the bus. I know how stressful it can be when you're watching the time going, and we don't want to lose you because you might have to walk to the elevator shortly. So we will see you over here at Canada Life Center. But thanks so much for spending a couple minutes with us this morning.
Of course. The hardest part is always fitting everything in the suitcase on a 10-day trip. So I got that part over.
You're preaching to the choir. You are preaching to the choir.
We'll have to connect you and I more on that, all those shoes. Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the game.
Thanks so much, Haley.
All right, Haley Hunter from Sportsnet Pittsburgh. It is, when you go on the road, you are at the whim of the team schedule. So if you miss the bus, they're not waiting for you.
No, they are not. And let me tell you, it is trying to, and I'm not saying that it's only women that have to pack more. I always used to say that when traveled with playoffs with Mike Johnson, with TSN, he was my favorite because for years it was, say, Gord Miller and MJ and I, or Gord Miller or Chris Cuthbert, MJ and I. And so Gord and Chris were the kings of just taking a very small carry-on, regardless of how long.
Yeah.
The masters of it. I love traveling with MJ because he had as many suitcases as I did. And
I knew that guy was. I knew it.
Then you didn't have to be self-conscious about it. But anyways, back to the game. Actually, as we continue on with this, we want to throw out the question of the day so far.
So easy.
It was a gimme. It was a layup for us. Favorite Bryan Little memory? What's yours?
I mean, there's so many, but I think the one I'm sure a lot of people bring up will be the Heritage Classic.
Yeah.
He didn't get to play in the Heritage Classic in 2016. I was very excited about the opportunity to play in Regina at Mosaic Stadium. The snow was falling that day, and of course, he scores the overtime winner. Jets were down 1-0 at one point, tied it up, won in overtime, and just one of my favorite moments covering this team, actually. So being there live was fantastic.
I just love Bryan was one of those people that you just absolutely loved being able to deal with. Just class act all the way. Was so respectful of everybody, gave great insight as one of those veterans, but very, very quiet and underrated. Loud and proud, go Jets go, says Jerry. Good morning. John Elliott says, Bryan Little, such a class act. There really is nothing bad that I can say about him at all. Will be hard to fight back the tears. I agree with this.
Yeah.
I get emotional when I see stuff like that. But.
So I sat down with Bryan last night at his hotel. And we got to play a special video for him, which will be the beginning part of the interview. Listening to people talk about Bryan Little, I got a little teared up. I'm not going to lie about that. He held it together, which is not surprising at all. But I'm not going to lie, I had a couple of tears going down my face listening to the nice things that Jets fans had to say about Bryan Little and everything he had done so far.
Obviously, with the Penguins here in town, there had been a lot of anticipation when you first looked at the schedule, with the way that things had gone with Rucker McGroarty, that this was going to be a game.
Yeah.
He is not here. I'm sure as Jets fans know by now that he was signed down to the AHL, so he is not going to be in this game. Let's talk about the only undefeated team left. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's nice. It is nice.
It is.
First 4-0 start in 1.0 and 2.0 history, which is saying something. And you go back to Friday and they're celebrating Connor Hellebuck, and Connor Hellebuck had been, you had to say that the reason why they won the first two games in their homestand in overtime 2-1, he was the key part of that. So it was really nice to see the Jets pour some goals for him. A 4-1 lead after the first period. Made it very comfortable for him the rest of the night and en route to an 8-3 win. But that was as dominant as it's going to get. Listen, the Sharks are slowly rebuilding their way back, but you had to take advantage. And Scott O'Neill had said before the game, they had to take away the game from the Sharks. And right from the start of the hockey game, that's certainly what the Jets did. San Jose didn't have a chance. But very impressive to see the Jets put up 8 goals.
And love to see the second line. You and I have spoken about it, and there's been so many conversations around the team about that second line and needing to get going. Nemesnikov, Perfetti, Ehlers, and just we hadn't seen it. And I loved the comments that the players had made going into that game, just about when asked about it, about the work that they were putting into it. And Scott O'Neill had spoken about it too. I mean, these guys are trying to figure it out, and it is just one game. But I mean, for them, all 3 stars from that second line, you got to love what you saw from them as well. And it's not just what they were able to produce in that last game, but what their overall game as well, with the way that they were able to eliminate. I don't think there were any scoring chances against on that line.
Yeah, and that's with the team's MO being defense first and leaning in on that all the time, to see that line play as well as they had been. That's the thing. When you're pushing for offense, sometimes defense gets forgotten.
Yeah.
That has not been the case with the Nemesnikov line, so they have to be given a lot of credit for it. And that's why, it's so well deserving that offensive explosion they had on Friday.
Yeah, the power play operating at 50% right now. Another great thing to see with the power play is that it's not just that first unit that got going. The second unit did it as well. And Davis Payne has spoken about how, first off, doesn't call it the bumper position.
Yeah.
He was asked about Nikolai Ehlers,
the pop spot.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Anytime you can have
anytime
you can have different terminology, because we've been using the bumper term for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's refreshing. So, and obviously the pop
We'll allow
spot.
it.
Yeah, the pop spot. Yes, Davis, you can do it. You can use it going forward. You have our permission here on check-in. The fact that he scored from the pop spot against San Jose, he's just been so good.
Yeah.
On that first, I'm talking about Nikolai Ehlers on that first unit. And you're right. The fact that both units look so dangerous is a headache for every team going forward. And I know they're going to have tough games. They're going to run into really good kills going down the road here. But so far, so good with the power play.
Yeah, and I mean, we all know the power play is not going to operate at 50% throughout the entire season. But if they can continue to generate momentum, and I think that's one of the things that we often hear with special teams is that you want, even if you don't end up scoring with your power play, you want it to be able to generate momentum so that when you do end up back on 5-on-5, they can try to continue on from there.
Continuing with comments, what is your favorite Bryan Little memory as we celebrate Bryan Little here on Check-In and a little bit later this afternoon at Canada Life Center? I like this from Lawrence. Favorite Bryan Little memory, not game related. However, on a game off day, help me with a vehicle dilemma. How about that? Great guy, excellent player, excellent Jet. Sure miss him. Wish him well.
For it. Phyllis is on the road. She's coming into the game. Good morning, Phyllis. Donovan says, breakfast and coffee in my Jets man cave. I ain't complaining. All right. You know what? That's probably what's missing so far. I haven't had a coffee yet this morning. That's what I'm missing. So jealous, Donovan. The little lad with wheels line. Yeah, I mean, for so many years, that was just the staple. I think that when you thought about the quintessential Winnipeg Jets line, it was those three in those early years.
And that's nice coming from Don on that one. So, I mean, that's a pretty good line. So I can see why.
For it. Okay, so with this being a 2:00 start, no morning skate, all right? So yeah, so you go back and forth as to what this lineup's going to look like. I mean, you presume that the lineup is going to look very similar to last game when you think of how they are off to a 4-0 start. But let's talk a little bit about goaltending. Hellebuck with the great play so far, but he has started all 4 games. At some point, you have to get Eric Comrie in here as well. Do you think that we see him in these next few games?
Yeah, I think, well, you got 4 games essentially from here till Saturday. So maybe today, certainly down the road in either St. Louis or into Seattle.
Yeah.
Hellebuck traditionally plays in Calgary all the time. Calgary's off to a red hot start. You look at St. Louis, that's a divisional rival. So I think at some point you're going to see Eric Comrie, and I'm excited about it because the last time Eric Comrie played for the Winnipeg Jets, he had a career season. And obviously, as we mentioned on the show before, how much and how glad he's glad to be back here in Winnipeg and how happy his teammates are to have him back in the dressing room.
Yeah, just an absolute great personality. I think you and I have waxed poetically on and on about Eric in the short time period. But I think that Scott O'Neill spoke last week about or this past week, whatever day we're on Sunday, this past week, about just he knows that he needs to get guys into the lineup. And so with the heavy schedule that they have going, for as quiet as last week was with those 4 practice days, all of a sudden you look at 6 games in 11 days when you start it from today. So it's just every other day, which is great news because you can set it and then join us every other day for check-in.
And it's 12:30, of course, will be the start. That's 12:30 Central Time on Tuesday against the St. Louis Blues. Bryan Little interview coming up in 1 minute. We'll have that for you. Sat down with him yesterday. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. Brian's going to be here at Canada Life Center signing some autographs for some fans. There's going to be a special moment signing his 1-day contract with the Winnipeg Jets to retire as a Jet. So there's lots to come here on the show, and looking forward to showing you that.
What I always found with Brian that was great is that he was so consistent, but I'll be interested. I can't wait to hear from him what his emotions are in a day like today, because he was never one that really enjoyed the spotlight or sought it out at all. So for him to have all of this attention on him, I think is wonderful. I think it's great that the fans will be able to show their appreciation, but he's much more, he just doesn't seek it out. So it'll be great.
He's actually kind of shy about the whole thing.
He is.
I met his mom during the mom's trip 3 years ago now, as I think about it, and I got very quiet. And I'm like, okay, that's where the personality comes from right there. So very reserved. And I think that's why Jets fans liked him so much because of his modesty. So without further ado, sat down with Bryan Little yesterday, and here is that interview. Before we get started here, we have a bunch of special messages for you that we'd like you to watch.
Okay, thanks.
Everyone knows that Bryan Little is and always will be a Winnipeg Jet and a Jet for life. So to have it come full circle with the 1-day contract to officially retire as a Winnipeg Jet, I think is something that every Winnipeg Jet fan wanted to see.
For me, it was the first hat trick in Winnipeg Jets 2.0 history was with Bryan Little. So that was a big moment for me.
A lot of ugly goals in that hat trick.
Thank you for coming to our class to talk about mental health with Project 11. Bryan Little inspired me to continue playing hockey.
all the very best, and thank you for all that you did for Project 11 and for all the kids that you came to visit and the teachers too. Take care. Bye.
That's so cool.
So
That's awesome.
I mean, you don't, you know the things you do, and you know the impact that you have on people's lives, but to hear them say it and to watch them say it, what does that mean to you?
It's surreal. It's one of those things that when you're here and you're playing, you're kind of in your own bubble. Like you're so focused on just everything that goes into playing hockey and on the ice and stuff. And that's why I like doing that stuff off ice, visiting kids, because it's like, 45 minutes, an hour out of your day, but like, yeah, seeing kids, talk about it years later, that's kind of why you do things like that. So, yeah, you don't really appreciate it. I mean, when it's happening.
And then, they mentioned the first hat trick in 2.0 history, and your first comment was a lot of ugly goals.
Yeah.
It's a big milestone for any organization. It's a big milestone for when the Jets coming back to Winnipeg. That was you. You're attached to that forever.
Yeah, I do remember all the goals from that game. I think it took a while. I'm not sure what year that was that we were back. I feel like with the talent nowadays, that wouldn't take very long. But yeah, I think two of the goals I don't remember going in or didn't know went in. Even the hat trick goal I thought hit the crossbar, so it was kind of a strange night. But yeah, I mean, guys like me, you don't get hat tricks very often, so it's kind of special for that to be the first one of the Jets 2.0.
Did it go by as fast as you ever thought it would? Like, it just when you come here and you're playing the NHL, did it go by as fast? Like,
It goes by extremely fast.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things when you're younger and you hear older guys say, you're like, yeah, old man, like, sure. Like you're gonna be young forever, and it's never gonna end. But it does. It goes by super fast, and it feels like when you first get in the league and you're in your 20s that you have infinite number of years left and opportunities to win and do this and that. But yeah, the next thing you know, you're a veteran on a team, and you're getting a little more sore every day after a game, and that happens. It goes by really fast.
My first year covering this team was 17-18. Now you guys were just so dominant that year. What was it like? Did it feel like you were just going to win every night you stepped on the ice?
Yeah, it's fun playing on a team like that when you have that belief that you can kind of beat anyone. And that year we felt like we could beat anyone on any given night. Yeah, and like the depth we had, and we had just a really good group of guys too that liked being around each other. So that definitely makes it easier.
Looking, and then I think of one of your vintage moments too is the Heritage Classic in Regina. How like the snow's coming down in the second period, just how Canadian was that to be there, and then of course scoring the overtime goal against the Flames.
That was really cool. It was really special because I didn't get to play in the one in Winnipeg. I always wanted to play in one, and I remember I got hurt like a couple weeks before that one in Winnipeg, so I had to watch it kind of not even like out in the stands. Like I watched it in like under the stadium on a TV and stuff. So I was really excited for that game. And like my parents came out, my brother was there, and yeah, it was just really cool. I remember being like so cold and windy out there though. Like it truly did feel like you were playing on kind of like a pond. So yeah, I had a blast at that game, and it's probably one of the last great memories from playing. So
what do you miss the most?
I miss a lot. I don't really miss like just going out and like I think I've played shinny once or twice and so I stopped playing. I don't really miss like just putting on the equipment, going out and playing with buddies and stuff. I miss playing in front of a full arena, and I miss playing just like the camaraderie of being with the guys and kind of going through everything together and being on the road and stuff. Just the whole thing.
Do you remember when you came back that one time, you're just up in the stands, you did the quick wave to everybody and how crazy everybody went? I think that's probably going to be magnified a little bit. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, that was cool. I don't know, like it's It's my wife asked me if I was like excited and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm a little nervous. Like I don't usually like the attention and stuff. Like even that was like, I'm like, you guys don't have to like put the camera on me. Like I just want to enjoy the game. So yeah, it's but it is cool. I think the part I'm most looking forward is just getting down to the room and like chatting with some of the guys, and I haven't talked to some of them in a while. I know how busy they get during the season, so yeah, seeing some of the guys and training stuff again.
Sorry. See, I ruined a moment. I ruined a moment there. Yes. So yeah, I told you it was. It's kind of an emotional moment. It was emotional interviewing him, and he's everything.
It was a great interview.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It was so well done.
Thank you.
JT, the questions you asked, and just his serious. And I mean, when he spoke about, when you saw the comments from the kids that he had gone and spoken to through P11 and that had been involved in that program and what it means to him, and then how he missed playing in front of the full arenas and the things that you appreciate. I also love the old man comment.
Yes,
I thought that was great. The personality that you saw from Bryan in that interview was tremendous.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to see. So his talked with Bryan yesterday. His mom and dad are here, wife and daughter. A couple of childhood friends are going to be here, but just think about this: when Bryan's career came to an end, his daughter was, I think, 1.5. He told me. So this will kind of probably be the first time that she'll get to see him. Well, it will be the first time she'll get to see him in front of all these people and stuff like that. And the best part of it, yesterday he was telling me he was signing autographs going into the hotel, and he said his daughter asked him, "Why, Daddy? Why are these people asking you to sign autographs?" So she kind of has no idea what he means to the city. She's gonna find that out today, and it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, she absolutely is. So coming to the game today, lots of love. Let's show Bryan Little just how much he was appreciated. Okay, as we continue on, and we'll just wrap things up, I think, shortly. It's mentioned 2:00 game. It's on TSN today. Pre-game show gets going at 1:30. Jets and Penguins, this is the end of the 4-game homestand for Winnipeg. What a start they have had. The only undefeated team, with Calgary losing last night in overtime to Seattle, the only undefeated team that remains in the NHL. They have outscored opponents 18-5, but obviously this is a Penguins team. They are 3-3 to start this season, but this is a Penguins team with.
Well, they're one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL right now.
You cannot take lightly, obviously, any team that has Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and the list goes on as well.
Very talented. You heard Jesse Puljujarvi is on track, which is great. He's had such a tough start to his career after being a highly touted prospect, getting drafted 4th overall by the Edmonton Oilers. Has not panned out at all for Jesse Puljujarvi. So you wish him, and well, not today, but it's good to see that he's kind of turning things around.
Yeah, and so warm-up is going to be something that we're all keeping a close eye on, because with no morning skates for either team, I know that the Penguins look like they were making some adjustments to their lines for practice. We'll see whether or not the Jets continue on with what they have been going with, whether or not we see Eric Comrie or Connor Hellebuyck in net. So there are question marks going into this game, as always happens in an afternoon game when you don't have the opportunity of seeing a morning skate. After this, though, the Jets head out onto the road for 3 games. St. Louis, Seattle, and Calgary.
Yeah, very interesting to see how that St. Louis, kind of that afterthought in the Central Division. You talk about all the teams that kind of took a step forward. You take Utah, Nashville made all those big free agent signings in the offseason. They took a big step forward last year. So St. Louis kind of in the background, but they've always kind of been hanging around in terms of a playoff spot in the Central. So not a team that the Jets will be overlooking. And then, of course, Seattle's playing well to start the year. And then, of course, Calgary, as you just mentioned, lost in overtime, their first loss of the year.
Yeah, so stay tuned throughout the day over the next really 24 hours. We'll have so much, not only on the game, but of course, everything relating to Bryan Little's retirement and the ceremony and celebration that is going on today at Canada Life Centre. So make sure, whether that be on X, Facebook, you name it, YouTube, you'll be able to watch your interview as well, and the Winnipeg Jets website, always the spot to go to. We appreciate so much, I think, as we wrap it up, because we have some other things that have to get going here. We appreciate all the time. You look at all everyone. Vince, hello, great show. Well, we appreciate that, Vince.
Thanks, Vince.
And thanks so much for everyone for spending some of your Sunday morning with us. Hopefully you had a coffee, maybe your breakfast as well while joining us. And remember that although this was a bit of an anomaly
Yes.
in terms of the 10:30 start time, you can always join us at 12:30 on X, Facebook, and YouTube on game days as we get you set for it. And if for some reason you're not able to join us, you can go onto YouTube and listen and watch afterwards, and we'll get you set for each and every game day because we're coming to you 82
Every
times.
time. What's
Oh.
so special? Happy Bryan Little Day. Happy game day. We'll see you on Tuesday, guys. Thanks so much for watching.
Have a great day, everyone.